Hey, what's up? I don't know if you've seen what I've been seeing circulating. I've even seen some guys doing messages on the verse found in Genesis regarding Noah and the flood and how they magically discovered this crazy prophetic word Hamas is used in the Hebrew. I want to quickly unpack that, but first, let me give you some background on who Hamas is and what is going on with this in case you are unsure. So Hamas, the word in Arabic, comes from an acronym in Arabic of HMS, which basically means the Islamic Resistance Movement. And in Arabic, the word means zeal, strength, or bravery. And Hamas is a Sunni Islamic movement. Now, if you don't know, there's two different major sections in Islam: is Sunnis and Shias. The big difference is between the Sunnis and the Shias is after the death of their prophet Muhammad, is that the Sunnis were assuming that Muhammad's cousin should have been the rightful leader. Well, Shias believe that Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law Ali was the rightful successor. So Sunnis follow the example or the model of Muhammad, and Shias follow the lineage of his family through a series of imams. Now, the roots of Hamas is coming from the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, and this organization, Hamas, was established to be a terrorist organization since 1997. So this is nothing new here. And when we're looking at the word Hamas and we're looking at the word, what is being used in Genesis in 6:11 specifically and 6:13, it's used multiple times in the Old Testament. Whoop-de-doo, it's not a big deal. The word so happens to be in very similar connotations, but here's the definition of what in Hebrew. I mean, there's many different lexical definitions and anything else, but the three major ones that you can see here is, the first one is violence, but what kind of violence? We're going to look at that here in a sec. The second one is injurious language or harsh treatment. So using a foul word or a bad word or something else like that could be considered a type of violence. The general definition, though, for this word is the rudeness or the wickedness of men. They're noisy, they're wild, and they're ruthless. Now, you got to understand the context of Genesis chapter 6. What is going on in Genesis chapter 6? Noah and the flood. Well, why did God send a flood and basically wipe out mankind? It was because of the violence that was going on at that time. Men were inherently wicked. The human race became corrupt. You see that in verses 11 to 12. It was full of violence. That is in verses 11 and 13. And God's wrath would destroy all flesh except for Noah, who walked with God, verse 9, and his family. Now, if you want to get a good definition of what this word means in the Hebrew, just read Genesis chapter 4 with Cain and Abel and what Cain does with Abel. The difference is that the word Hamas for violence is not used here, but you can understand the inference of what this word actually means within the context of what it means. And yes, it is murder and it is violence and it is just horrendous. But the biggest thing that we need to remember is that there's no crazy prophecy in this word. So if you've got someone that's like, wow, look at this, I found this in the Strong's Concordance or whatever else, you have to understand there's always different meanings of the way in which the Hebrew words work and how it applies within the context of the verse. You cannot have a word taken in isolation and assume that this is a one-for-one equation. You have to look at the context and what is the author trying to convey in this. So, should we be worried that the word Hamas is in Hebrew? No, not at all. It means something completely different than the Arabic word. And of course, Arabic is going to have a different definition of what this means and what it doesn't mean. But I'm just here to say real quick, let's put a stop to thinking that there is something crazy within this word. And now magically all these other dots are going to appear. You can look throughout the Old Testament, almost all the different, and there's a ton of different instances in which the word violence is used, whether it's actually in violence and aggression of physical hand-to-hand combat or physical murder, and or violence in the harshness of a way in which someone treats you. I hope that helps. Hope this brings up some clarity for you guys.